Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to Sid's Little Corner of the Internet. We got another Transformers review coming your way. This time around, we're going to be taking a look at the Transformers Studio Series number 50 from Transformers The Last Knight, World War II Hot Rod. So as we always do, let's go ahead and move him out of the way and we'll take a look at that packaging. So bring that in for the close-up. So you got that Hot Rod artwork right there. Got number 50, Transformers The Last Knight, Studio Series, WWII Hot Rod right there. Transformers up the side. You have that full body artwork on the side. On the back, you have your product shots. And you've got a very small bio here. You've got big screen inspired up at the top. World War II flashback right there. And Hot Rod teams up with Bumblebee to provide serious firepower during an assault on an enemy stronghold. All right, down here at the bottom, you have all your warnings. You do have the sad baby. On this side, you have a close-up of that Hot Rod head. Up top, you have Transformers The Last Knight. And on the bottom, you have manufacturing information. So that wraps it up for the outside of the packaging. Let's go ahead and talk about what came in there. And we'll start with the sheet of warnings. So, there you go. And then you get the instructions. And then you get his weapon. So not a bad looking rifle here. You do get some paint effects on there, but nothing too amazing. Overall, not too bad. All right, and then last you do get the display base that you get with the Studio Series Transformers. So in this case, you get a bit of a World War II style backdrop. All right, and of course, as always, you can take your figure and you can put him right there on the display base if you choose to do so. I don't have enough room on my shelf, so these always go back into the box for storage. All right, so let's go ahead and move that on out of the way, and we will bring in the star of the show for his close-up. So we'll bring him in. And there you have that head sculpt. And this is actually a really nice looking head sculpt on this figure. So that's one of my... I have a limited number of compliments for this figure, and the head sculpt and the paint apps are one of the compliments that I have. And then coming down here to the chest area, you've got some good molded in detail there. And you have all this silver right there in the ab area. And even up underneath where he does the ab... or the waist rotation, you do get good detail molded in there as well. So credit where it's due. I think that's a good attention to detail on that. Good paint apps down here on the legs. And then you come down here. And for the most part, that gunmetal gray that he's molded in, I think works really well for this figure. Gives him a nice look. And then come up here to the arms. You get a little bit of that orange, and you do have some painted silver. And up underneath, on the sides, you get some detail back here, which is good to see. And right there on the thighs, some detail as well. And here he is from the back. So he has most of the vehicle hanging off his back. This is very much like World War II Bumblebee. This is essentially the same figure. Transformation engineering is the same. A few things have changed, in the chest area and of course the head, but everything else is pretty much exactly the same. So for articulation, the head is on a ball joint, so you do get some good, well, it helps if I put him in frame, you get some good side to side, and you get a decent amount of up and down, and you can take that head all the way around if you choose to do so. For the shoulder comes up that far, which is kind of disappointing, and you can go 360. You just need to be aware of this and clear it so you can go all the way around. That is on a ball joint. At the elbow, these joints are very tight at the elbow on mine. There we go. It was a bit of a struggle. So at the elbow, you get right at 90 degrees. And you do get bicep rotation. You can go all the way around on that. For the hands, you don't get any wrist rotation. You just get this inward swivel for transformation, so you could take that all the way in if you choose to do so. As I mentioned earlier, he does have waist rotation, Not a lot because of this huge backpack, but he does have some before he starts to interfere. So you do get a limited amount there. At the hips, he can come out that far, but then you've got this back piece just dangling there, so it's not like you can do a lot with him on the splits. And he can kick forward that far. And I'm just going to show this all on the same leg this time because of the backpack. He can kick backward. He just can't kick backward. All right, so at the knee, you get just under 90 degrees of rotation. And the only thing that you get at the foot, you don't get any ankle tilt or anything like that. You just get the ability to disconnect this foot and give him a little bit of forward motion. So if you want to get him in some type of an action pose, you can do that. So overall, articulation on this guy is limited. I would call it subpar and a bit of a disappointment for the Studio Series. Again, this is based off the World War II Bumblebee, who is the exact same way. Additionally, something else that I've noticed, you'll see from the side that I have him essentially standing straight, and it just doesn't work with the shape of those feet. So you have to give him a bit of a chicken leg stance where you push those knees back a little bit extra and either disconnect these feet and bring them forward or tilt the whole body forward in order to get enough balance on him to keep him from falling forward. So from the front, it doesn't look bad, especially if you put him in some type of an action pose. But from the side, you can tell, you know, just all the maneuvering that you have to do in order to get this figure posed. But Lord help us, if you see this thing from the side anyway, this is just a hot mess. I don't like the side view or the back view of this figure at all. So anyway, all right, so let's go ahead and talk about transformation. We'll get him transformed up into his alt mode, which personally I think is his strength. So what you want to do for transformation is, if they haven't already come undone on you, you want to undo these shoulders. So you've got these little tabs right here that go into the chest area. You just want to undo that and shove his head and his chest down and get that out of your way. All right, then you take his hands, fold his hands in, get those out of your way as well. And if you want, once you just do these two little bits of prep, you can turn your attention down here to the legs and go ahead and get the front of the car all set and taken care of. So take those feet, move those forward out of the way. That's going to allow this, and just go ahead and move that back up out of the way. That's going to allow this section to swing up. And when you swing that up, you're going to pull this wheel out. So that way it should be oriented like that. So it's sitting right there in that wheel well. And then give that a 90 degree, and then push that foot up all the way like that. And then you can bring this down. And all this is going to be real floppy and loose on you until you get everything tabbed in. So do the same thing over here. Go ahead and take that foot, lift that foot up, pull this out, pull that wheel out, turn that 90 degrees, bring that down, close that foot up. And now if you turn him around here, you can see essentially what you've done is you have the front of the car, and then you have a series of tabs that you're just going to connect the two pieces together. So line everything up and give it a nice shove. And everything holds together very well on the front. So I will give a compliment there that this is nice and sturdy and solid once you get that completed. Once you have that done, then what you're going to do here is you're going to take these wheels. So you can see here these wheels are on a double hinge. So you're going to take these wheels and you're going to lift them up out of that area. So you're going to clear all of this, because what you're going to do is you're going to rotate all of this around. So this is the front of your car, this is the rear of the car. So you need to get all of this rotated around so your wheels are all oriented correctly. So spin these around. This is all, it's going to be kind of hard to show on the camera, but this is all on a single axis right there. So when you bring these around, that entire subassembly is going to rotate with you. So you're going to kind of be in a constant battle of keeping this out of your way while you're trying to spin these wheels. And it's a bit of a pain, I'm not gonna lie. It's not my favorite transformation. So you can go either direction, whatever is gonna work best for you depending on the mood of the figure that day. So you just have to kind of struggle and get that around 180 degrees so you're oriented like that. Once you're in this position, things get a little bit easier, thankfully. So these wheels that are on that double hinge, you're just going to squeeze those together like that. So you should have almost a vertical orientation between these two pins on either side. So they should be just straight up and down to each other. And then you're going to spin these shoulders around. So those shoulder pads are angled up like that. And then once you have this here, you have on these legs, right here and right here, you have these two tabs. They're going to correspond to these two long slots on each forearm. So when you get to this point, give those elbows a little bit of a bend and then rotate those 90 degrees in. And then once you have that, what you're going to do essentially is you're going to align those tabs to those slots. So you're going to just give that a squeeze right there and do the same thing on the other side. And this should be the approximate orientation that you have for the arms going into the alt mode, because that's going to allow the clearance for the rest of the backpack or the car body to come down over the top of the car. So once you're here, you're going to unfold these two panels, and then you're going to slide these over the arms. And before I do that, let me show you this. You do have, in these panels, you have a slot here, you have a slot right there. They're going to align to the tab on either side. So once you bring these over, you're going to, let me set this down, it'll be a little bit easier. Going to bring this down, and then once you do that, you can see in there you have those tabs, and I'm going to fit the tabs over those slots, or fit those slots over those tabs, and then I'm going to give that a little bit of a squeeze, and that's going to orient the body where it needs to be. All right, at this point, you're almost there. And just a little bit of a heads up, for my copy, I'm going to have panel gaps. I've tried a few different ways, and I've tried on the World War II Bumblebee as well. I just have panel gaps. I've said it before in previous reviews. I'm a bit of a perfectionist when it comes to this, so I could fiddle all day with this, but for the sake of this video, I'm going to get you there, and then if you want to take your time and try to get everything perfect, you can. So once you're here, you have this flap back here that's going to become the rear of the vehicle. So you just bring that down. When you bring that down, you have these tabs on either side that are just going to fit just underneath these wheels. So if you spread these wheels out a little bit, you can bring the back of that vehicle down. And then when you do, what I do is I hold onto those wheels, push that in, and then my wheel wells can capture that and just put that where that's supposed to be. Now, for this upper section, you have, this is how it was in the robot mode, so you just lift this up, spin that 180 degrees, and then you can bring that down, and that closes the top of World War II Hot Rod in his vehicle mode. So, at this point, we are, for all intents and purposes, we are complete with World War II's Hot Rod's vehicle mode. All right? So, all things being equal, this is, I think, a much better, the alt mode looks much better than the robot mode for him. So let's go ahead and we'll bring that in and we'll look at some of the details on there. So bring them in right up front. You can see the silver painted headlights, and you do have some molded in detail here. Would have been nice if they had some kind of silver paint on that grille, but it is what it is. You have the armored windshield right there, and then we'll get into this. This is where his weapon goes, or one of the options for where his weapon goes. And then I think from the side, this is probably the strongest point because I absolutely love these wheels. The wheels and tires, I think they look great. I guess silver would have looked nice here, but I kind of like them in the blacked out look. And I think, you know, if it would have lent to them, to the overall look, if this was black as well, or if this would have been silver in the middle, just so you had some consistency. But I'm not one for really modifying my figures, so this is the way he'll stay. And from the back, you've got a couple rivets back there just to complete that overall look. And there he is from the top. There he is from the bottom. So you can see a whole lot of folded up robot under there. Okay, so let's go ahead and we will throw his one accessory in there. So you take that rifle and you lift this up. And when you lift that up, you have, on the rifle, you have this little angled groove right here. And that angled groove lines up with the windshield. So you just take that rifle, line it up with that angled groove, and give it a gentle push down in. And then you can close this back up. And there you have Hot Rod all armored up. I think that it works. I think this is a little excessive, just that bandolier of bullets right there. But I think for the most part it works. It gives this a nice overall look, and it armors it up. So yeah, I can deal with it. And you also have a port up here that if you wanted, you could put the weapon in that port, or if you so desire, you could borrow from World War II Bumblebee, and you could put his up there as well. So now you're kind of double armored up. All right, so let's go ahead and remove that. And what we'll do is we'll bring in some comparisons. All right, so for comparison, the first one that we'll bring in is the Hot Rod from the Bayverse. So this is a studio series, but this one that I'm bringing in is the Hot Rod just from the main line, not a studio series. This is just from the Bayverse from the last night. So you can see Hot Rod in both of his forms, the World War II studio series Hot Rod with the Lamborghini Hot Rod as we saw him in the last night. And same situation here. His alt mode in the Lamborghini mode is just leaps and bounds better than his robot mode. So both of these guys work much better in their alt mode. All right, so give you a little head-to-head there so you can see a tale of two hot rods. Okay, now we'll move him on out of the way, and we will bring in his mold mate, the Studio Series World War II Bumblebee. And you can see what I mean here. They are the exact same figure. Bumblebee does have a few different paint apps, and you will notice that on my Bumblebee, no matter what I do, I can't get this panel to close right here. The funny thing is that if I lift him up, spin this around, and close this, well, it fits much better, you know. There we go. Like, it fits just fine there. There's a bit of a panel gap. But, man, if I flip this over and try to bring that down, well, I'm just all kinds of panel gappy. There's nothing I can do about it. It's just a malalignment, or just it got warped a little bit during the molding process. I'm not sure. But, hey, it is what it is. So let's go ahead and bring these guys in. I'm going to take this weapon out so we can have some apples to apples comparison here. So let's go ahead and lift that out. Close that back up. Now this one closes much better than the one on Bumblebee. But ignoring that, let's go ahead and bring these guys in, and you can see how they are just the exact same for the body on this car. Set them down here so you can see them bumper to bumper. And show them from the back. And right here. So there you go. That's what they look like side by side. And, you know, as far as vehicle modes go, I like the vehicles on these guys. I'm just not a fan of the robot modes. All right, so let's go ahead and get him transformed back into his robot mode. So in order to do that, you're essentially, just like with every transformer, I suppose, you're going to reverse the steps that you took to get him here. So what you're going to do here basically is you're going to just pop these side panels to get them loose. Right here, just kind of lift those out, pop those, and pull those wheels out a little bit. Go ahead and take this back panel right here and fold that all the way up and fold it against itself right there. And once you've done that, pull this down just a tick so you can clear those two tabs right there. That's going to allow you to go ahead and lift this entire panel up, or this backpack up and out of the way. And once you've done that, if they haven't already come loose, go ahead and pull those arms out and take those wheels and just spread those wheels out again. This is going to be a repeat of the last time when we had to go 180 degrees around. So what you're doing is really you're looking for the easiest possible way to get clearance to go 180 around this. So once you get these approximately in that position, you can fold these panels in. And now we are going to go through that 180 degree process. So just start spinning this around and looking for the best way to get all this around so you have everything facing the right orientation. And once you're here, now you have these wheels on the double hinges. What you're going to try to do to the best of your ability, and you will play with this, you will fiddle with this, you will struggle with this. You want to fold those down so they're in that approximate position. And once you're here, you're going to need to bring this chest, pop this chest up so his head comes out. And again, struggle with this to get these around. And put those wheels, tuck them away so they're back there in this approximate location, because what's ultimately going to fix those into place is these little tabs right there are going to go into these slots right here on the side of the chest. So you're just going to grab those, pull them, and try to put those in the slots. And there we go. And now you have the wheels locked in back there where they should be. And you're going to want to leave this up because it's going to get in your way while you're doing the rest of the lower body. But now you can just take those arms down, spin them around, open those hands up. And same thing on the other side, spin around, open the hands up. And now you can turn your attention to the lower body. So you're just going to split this front. And when you do that, you're going to pull this out. And when you pull that out, be sure to take that foot and get it down out of your way. And then fold this wheel in. Turn this 90 degrees. And then that wheel is going to tuck in right in this slot right here. So this part I like. This is satisfying to see that engineering and that transformation where that wheel goes in right there. That part I like. And you're done with one leg, so you're going to do the same thing over here. Bring that foot down, bend that wheel in, turn that 90 degrees, tuck that wheel in right there, and there you have the legs done. And now you can go ahead and just move that backpack down. And this is the part where you struggle with finding the right orientation to keep World War II Hot Rod standing upright. So maybe give him a good action pose here, and that'll keep him standing up. So there you go. There's Hot Rod back in his robot form. Okay, so now what we will do is we will take his weapon and we'll arm him up. And then we'll bring in some comparisons after I get him oriented again. Please stay, please stay. There we go. All right, so now what we'll do is we'll go ahead and we'll bring in some comparisons. All right, so for a comparison, what we will do is we'll bring in a few just for fun, and then we'll bring in some that are more legitimate as far as comparisons go. So, like I said, just for fun, what we'll do, since he's a hot rod, we'll go ahead and we'll bring in the hot rod from the Titan's Return line, so you can see how he looks next to that. And we'll move him on out of the way. And next we'll bring in hot rod from the Kingdom, or hot rod from Studio Series 86. I say Kingdom because, gosh, the Studio Series 86 and Earthrise and Kingdom, these guys are on the right par of engineering. So when I think of one group, I kind of have that in my head. So by far the best mainline hot rod that I've ever seen right there. Okay, so that's it for the fun. Let's go ahead and bring in some that are a little bit more legitimate. So what we'll do is we will bring in the hot rod mainline toy from the Bayverse. And like I said, when we saw them in their alt modes, these robot modes are weak. From the front, this guy looks all right. From the side and the back, he looks horrendous. This hot rod, I mean, come on. It doesn't even look like hot rod. The only thing that is even close is, oh, look, he's got black and orange on him, and he has the bicycle helmet head. That's it. Other than that, this is, you know, really kind of a phoned-in design here. I'm not fond of it. Like it much better in his car mode. Right, and since we brought him in, and you know what I might do here? I know this is your review. Calm down. But I think, just for a point of comparison here, we'll bring this Bayverse hot rod back in. And what I'll do is I'll show you what a real Transformers The Last Night hot rod should look like. You should look like that. That is the DX9 LaHire, their take on a masterpiece, The Last Night hot rod. This is an incredible figure. This is one that I will have to do a review for. I mentioned in another review for the Dragoon, I think, for one of the Megatrons, that Sid had done an unboxing for Dragoon. He had also done an unboxing for LaHire. But I need to get around to doing a full review with transformation and show everything that this guy's capable of, because this is what a masterpiece should be. Get this figure. Again, sorry, I know it's your review. Calm down. But get this figure if you can. He's amazing. Highly recommended. So anyway, there's World War II Hot Rod Studio Series versus the Bayverse mainline versus the true hot rod, the one who wears the crown. All right, and then we have just the one last comparison here, and that is where we will bring in the mold mate, World War II Bumblebee, and you can see those two guys, how they stack up next to each other. As I mentioned, the exact same mold, the exact same design and transformation here, except for a few minor changes, and we can I'll bring them in for a close-up, and you can see that highlighted. So, you know, you're looking at essentially the head, the chest and abdomen area, and the shoulders. That's really it as far as the differences between these two guys. Obviously, other than the paint. But yeah, they're essentially the same figure, and if I may speak so frankly, they're essentially the same poorly designed figure. I think they could have done a lot better with these two guys. All right, so let's go ahead and we'll get little World War II Bumblebee out of the way, and I will give you my final thoughts on this guy. All right, so my final thoughts on the Transformers Studio Series World War II Hot Rod. This guy, plain and simple, is a pass. I cannot recommend him. I the only way that I would say to pick this guy up is if you find him on clearance or maybe at a garage sale, you know, for a couple dollars, something like that. This figure is simply not worth it. There's very little enjoyment out of the transformation. The articulation is limited. The transformation, the design itself, particularly in robot mode, is lacking. He's just a repaint cash grab from Hasbro from the World War II Bumblebee. There's very few good things to say about this figure. His alt mode looks nice, so I guess he has that going for him. And I like what they've done with the transformation in the lower legs. But other than that, this figure is hard to stand. I can't, you know, do a lot as far as any type of nice action dynamic poses with him. I don't, tell me if I'm wrong, but I don't ever recall even seeing Hot Rod in this mode in the movie. So, you know, there's not even any role playing when it comes to that, you know, if you actually want to play with your toys. And overall, this is just, it's lacking in so many different areas that I simply cannot recommend this figure. Thankfully, I picked this figure up on clearance at Meijer, which is a retail store in North America. I was always reluctant to pick him up anyway because I already had the Bumblebee, and I wasn't particularly fond of the Bumblebee. And once I saw him on clearance, I thought, okay, I'll give it a shot and just see. And it's just not a good figure. I don't think that anything would be gained by putting him into your collection. So I hate giving bad reviews. I always like trying to find the positive in these figures. I'm just really struggling to do so this time around, guys. So with that, I'm going to wrap the review up. Thanks for watching. As I say at the end of all these, this channel is growing and becoming more successful because of you, so I can't say thank you enough for that. So if you haven't already done so, be sure to subscribe, hit that like button, and leave us some comments and let us know what you want to see on this channel, what we could be doing better, and help us grow. It would be much appreciated. So until we talk again next time, take care.